This is the actual plan of Horizon Point before our studio was retained to redesign it. There is nearly 15,000 linear feet of street, which translates to almost 3 miles of dedicated street the city would have to maintain in perpetuity. This translates into 6 miles of sidewalks combined with the 3 miles of utility mains. This slide shows that there are 13 four-way intersections, 8 much safer three-way intersections, and 2 abrupt 90 degrees turns. Each four-way intersection has 32 vehicle-to-vehicle conflict points and 24 vehicle-to-pedestrian conflict points. Four-way intersections also lead to T-bone crashes known as broadside or side impact collisions. Victims often suffer severe or life-threatening damages including brain injuries and spinal cord damage, yet many urban planners promote the use of grid design that increases four-way intersections. It is important to consider traffic flow. In 1667, Isaac Newton discovered a body in motion tends to stay in motion. Now imagine that body being a 2-ton vehicle driving through a neighborhood. Under normal driving conditions, accelerating from 0 to 25 miles an hour, approximately 200 feet will be consumed to achieve residential design speed. Beyond that 200 feet, the vehicle is maintaining flow, consuming much less energy and much less time. However, that vehicle has to come to a stop, which also will consume 200 feet. Thus, the stop, accelerate, stop distance is about 400 feet, and anything beyond is efficient in both time and energy. Each one of those four-way intersections is going to have at least one street having a stop sign, if not both streets. From an energy and time perspective, just to get home, this previous design is extremely inefficient. Because of this, residents will tend to roll through intersections and tend to accelerate more than normal just to get home. The grid produces a massive amount of length of street, which consumes 22.6% of the site. It is dedicated to the city and not dedicated to the residents who are investing in the neighborhood. Compared to the total site area, 15.2% of the entire site will be street pavement, of which the city will have to maintain forever, and contributing to runoff of stormwater. Before we continue with this presentation, we would agree with many urban planners that the typical curved street subdivision may introduce several problems with connectivity and efficiency. Any product can have bad design or good design, and poorly designed curved developments become the target of those that believe the urban grid of the past is superior. It is important at this stage to demonstrate how much waste is in the grid design thought to be efficient. This slide shows streets in red. These streets have no frontage of lots, only side yards. These represent building streets with 100% design waste. These streets shown in yellow have a home fronting one side, but not the other side. They have 50% waste. As an international land planning firm, we typically do not get involved with the local economics of development. However, we did develop recently a similar-sized neighborhood in Rochester, Minnesota. In 2024, our cost of construction was $1,622 a linear foot of street. Similar to Horizon Point, our development is on rolling terrain of which a curved street pattern as we design it conform to the natural flow of the land versus a straight street grid which does not. If construction cost is similar in your region, the 3,830 linear foot reduction of street would equate to an $18,655 reduction per lot in construction cost. This cost reduction can be used to provide a better home with better landscaping at a more attainable price. But a properly designed development harnessing the latest geometric patterns and technologies offer multiple advantages over the grid of the past, which we will explain here. Our redesign of Horizon Point neighborhood utilizes these new methods, which eliminates the waste of urban and suburban patterns. With only 11,110 linear feet of street, which is 36% less street and utility main length of the original grid design, which is more than a half a mile of street that the city will not have to maintain forever. We demonstrated previously the grid is in fact extremely inefficient in both time and energy. Looking at Horizon Point, a main street, maintaining constant flow defines most of the neighborhood. Combined with another smaller loop street, it should be obvious harnessing the curves in this way significantly increases the efficiency and attractiveness of a neighborhood. In addition, the curved streets are naturally traffic calming. There are no four-way intersections, only three-way intersections. The total number of the intersections are 30% less, most being on the outside of a curve to create better sight distances. There is 20% less total right-of-way dedicated to the city, which means every lot has a larger average lot size, which increases the value for the 333 residences that will live within our neighborhood. In addition, there's 20% less street pavement the city will have to maintain. Walkability is assumed to be the main advantage of the grid design, claiming to be superior to curvilinear suburban subdivisions. This is true because most planners of suburban development ignore walkability. All of our neighborhoods take walkability into consideration in the initial design process, not as an afterthought. Let's again look at the grid from a walkability perspective. Suppose you want to walk skewed through the neighborhood. You live on the north side and want to visit a friend a bit to the east and south of where you live. As you can see by the pattern, when you leave your home and stroll through the neighborhood, you must negotiate 1, then 2, then 3 four-way intersections. You have to cross that fourth intersection twice. The total distance straight between homes may not be that much, however. Because you have to zigzag through the grid, the actual distance increases about 30 to as much as 40%. In addition, most of that walk will not be along nice home facades, but instead alongside yards which are never as attractive as fronts, often varied fencing or views into rear yard clutter. Because of these factors, you might drive to the neighbor instead of a stroll. Now let's take a look at the redesign with areas that we included through the block trails to help reduce total distance. You walk a little bit to the east to use the crossover trail, which is just one street crossing within line of sight of drivers. Then you walk around a curve, then have to negotiate one three-way intersection to get to the neighbor. Which do you think is safer? Which do you think would be more convenient? This neighborhood uses a method that we pioneered 35 years ago called coving. It is the harnessing of the street pattern and eliminating waste typical in a design, be it a grid or curved suburban design. Coving utilizes meandering setbacks to gain space and efficiency. It does something unique in the planning industry, as it gains efficiency by increasing regulatory minimums, not decreasing them. The sense of space one feels as they drive or walk through a neighborhood is going to be the distance facade to facade. The less distance facade to facade, the more claustrophobic the neighborhood will feel no matter what the lot width. Thus, the character and monotony of the development is entirely dependent on the increased architectural and landscape details, adding to the unaffordability of housing. This neighborhood undulates the front yard setbacks along the outside of curves, providing more of a park-like setting that's impossible to replicate on the grid development. The blend of curves and undulation reduces the perception of density while increasing views from within home living spaces, not only out the front windows, but also significantly rear-to-rear distances for most homes in the neighborhood as would be compared to a gridded development. The grid neighborhood must compress every setback to the absolute minimums, which is due to the street right-of-way consuming the site. This unique pattern is made possible by the technologies and methods that our company has pioneered, which provides a higher standard of living, more efficient and safer neighborhoods, with less environmental impact while providing more attainable housing. The demand for these neighborhoods that we design are huge. To the home buyer, we provide attractive neighborhoods with more space, more value, less monotony, and safer environments that are also attainable to the middle market. The reduction in site construction cost allows more funds to be used for better landscaping and architectural detail without increasing homes' cost to the consumer. This is a win-win situation for both the developer and the city, but more important, to the home buyer.